just quickly with a race, bit of a stinker. Let's give it a rating out of 10, I think. I mean, for me, especially by Interlagos standards, Alonso gave it something at the end, but as a product, it was a 3 out of 10 race.
Oh, 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 5. There was a bit of action to begin with. We had a red flag.
5's like bang average, and that was
bang average.
Below average. The sprint was better than the race, and that's when...
That's what I was going to say. Literally 2. If I'm saying sprint, everyone knows that I don't like the sprint. So if I'm saying the sprint's better,
that's tough.
Crazy.
See?
I'll probably go for 4, maybe 3.5. There was some action, but it weren't all action, and they just.
The thing is that the gaps opened up quite quickly. We had big pace differentials between a lot of the teams. I think, like the Astons were both clear of the Ferraris.
Yeah.
The Ferraris were way clearer than the Mercedes. We'll get onto them, I'm sure. Max and Lando kind of checked out, and Lando just didn't quite have enough over the course of, a long race that, it had his red flag at the start, but, it didn't have any additional safety cars. For Max to win by like 8 seconds isn't crazy. And obviously as a McLaren fan, Pete, you got to take that, right?
Yeah, it used to be 88 seconds behind Max Verstappen. Now 8 seconds, we're biting your hand off. And this normal service resumed. P2 Lando Norris, when the car's right and everything's all set up, he just needs to put those qualies together. Do you know what I mean? Like we've been here before where we're starting P7 or P8, P9, whatever, and he's having to recover. Still, P2 is tremendous. Great.
It's the best he can do.
Yeah, it's the best he can do. Absolutely. So to see him do that, happy days. Happy days for McLaren.
But I think driver of the day, Fernando Alonso. We all said it on the live stream.
Definitely.
That gave us something at the end, didn't it?
Yeah. Photo finish.
Yeah. Well, 0.053 seconds between them at the end.
Squeaky bum time.
He still got it.
Was it?
I saw some of Fernando did to Perez in one lap what Perez was trying to do to Fernando for like 20.
That's the level, isn't
It
it?
shows the caliber of skill that guy has.
Still got
at his age.
Yeah.
In his 40s, isn't he?
It's number.
He doesn't like it when you mention his age.
How do you know?
I talked to him
over it.
personally. Yeah.
Fernando Alonso on speed dial over here.
Got contact.
No, it's unreal for me. But Lance fifth as well. Like Aston,
Brilliant.
Where did this
They
come
held
from?
their own.
They bought it back.
We said at the beginning, we were like, they're gone.
Yeah.
Well, they were third quickest team today.
Comfortably so. And the thing is like, with what happened in qualifying, we thought they would get eaten up because qualifying was a bit of luck in a sense of, the wind blew the wrong way type of thing. And then, they were on merit, got their positions today. So absolutely brilliant.
And we saw pace from both of them coming through the field yesterday as well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a mass. It's a surprise in the context of the season.
Yeah.
But after what we saw yesterday, it wasn't a huge shock to me that they come through. But I don't know. It's like, I think it just goes to show how close this battle is, because Aston never fell so far behind that they were completely out of the scrap for, they were at the bottom end of this scrap for second quickest car.
True.
But then they just turn up at Interlagos, turn it on. What's the gap now to McLaren? I think 19.
I'll double check
I think it's 19 points. Aston's in McLaren. What do we think? Everyone are just like, McLaren have got it. It's done.
Well, to be honest, Piastri had a bit of a mare today. So if he was fortunate enough not to get hit and have the issues that he did, I feel like they would have got a lot more points. He could have potentially been up there with Lando.
I think they got it.
Or just behind Fernando.
What's the gap you said? What did you say?
19, isn't it?
Yeah, 21.
21.
Okay.
So
21.
It's there.
Okay, 21 points. 21 points is, again, in a constructor's point of view, if Lance had a good race. He had a good sprint as well, in terms of race pace. But Fernando Alonso, how much longer will he, let's all predict when he actually will eventually retire.
I don't think he'll do it next year. It won't be the end of next year.
2 years.
This car is this is probably the closest he's ever been in the last how many years to actually being close to in the championship. Getting some consistent points. At the start of the season, they were on fire. They slacked off a little bit, but it looks like they're starting to claw it back. So I feel like next year, if they have equally the same or better car, they might be giving McLaren a run for their money for the championship, or even P2 for the championship. Mercedes needs to pull their finger out, but I feel like they will. He won't retire anytime soon if the car is keeping them the same level of pace.
Yeah. What do you reckon now?
Well, why would you go if you're getting podiums? You're not going to go anywhere, are you?
More trophies for the cabinet, isn't it?
Exactly.
He'll retire when he.
When it drops off.
When he feels like he's losing that edge.
Yeah.
But we saw today he's
a bit
that
like how
edge is
Vettel was like.
Yeah.
When Vettel was at
He was
Aston Martin, and
so
it was just like you can see it was slipping away from him.
you could tell he wasn't the driver he once
Yeah, he
was.
was like, you know what, this is.
It was
time.
depressing.
Yeah.
I wonder what Vettel would be like in this Aston Martin though. Whether that drive would come back to him. Whether it's just a case of because he saw the
think
car
it
was
will.
bad that he just kind of let go.
I think it would. Because when was it? Was it Suzuka when it was him and I think it was him and Alonso.
Yeah, right at the line, photo finish.
Photo finish.
Yeah.
So he's still got it in him to fight. It's just whether you have a good car behind you that you can put trust in.
Yeah, I've seen that point mentioned actually. Like, you look at the gap Vettel-Stroll. Vettel was ahead of Stroll.
Yeah.
But not by anywhere near as much of a delta that Fernando's been ahead of Stroll. So if Fernando was in that Aston Martin last year, I think they would have achieved. I mean, they finished behind Alfa Romeo, level on points, but behind because of best result. That's crazy. So, I mean, this is Fernando's most competitive package since he left Ferrari in 2014.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he went, McLaren was 15 was his first season at McLaren, and that never did anything.
Nope.
Alpine was trash, and he had a bit of time out between them. So, yeah, I think that it's one race.
Yeah.
But it must be encouraging, like to at least, because it just felt like they just had no understanding before this weekend of where things have gone wrong. And like again, McLaren are going up there, and like the trajectory was just appalling.
It's bizarre. Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of retirement, I'd predict I'm looking at 2027, and the reason I say that is I think he wants to stay here for the new regs. And when the new regs
he's so
come in,
happy, he's
delighted. Yeah, he's absolutely delighted. It's good to see.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, I think like 2026, see how those new regulations sort of pan out. And then if it stinks, 2027, I think it might be done. He'll be like, yeah, see you later. Like Vettel was, last year. But yeah, it's great. It's great to see Fernando still fighting. Stroll as well, if we're talking Aston Martin. Stroll, P5 was my driver of the day, really, because, it's always a bugbear with me and Stroll is that you know the talent is there when he wants to put it on. That's the other thing. It's like he maybe once every 20 races do we get something from him in his career, in his entire career.
He switches it on.
He switches it on. P5 in Brazil. I mean, that's not if you're not a car that's actually fighting for a title or whatever. That's very good from
decent.
him. It's very.
And he was 10 seconds down the road from Fernando, which isn't like crazy.
No embarrassment.
I mean, it's Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
Again, he's one of the greatest of all time. I'd say that in terms of like you look at the full extent of his career. But why can't Stroll turn it on more often? Do we think? Because I made this point in the stream. Like he'd know like his situation is different to most other drivers on the grid.
Yeah,
like the vast majority of other drivers on the grid, if their performances absolutely stink, they will get dropped and they will have to move on. And like you can argue, all right, there's periods where Stroll hasn't deserved to be in the sport. There's periods where he's had great races, but like I just feel like from a mentality point of view, it's impossible to expect him. I'm not even having to guide him. I'm just saying like in his context, his situation when your dad owns the team and that, you can't expect him to get that drive and that absolute, determination that other drivers, and, you could argue Ocon's maybe too guilty of it because he overdrives, to actually pull that performance out more often. That's for me, but I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, 100%. Like you need that pressure. They all work so well under pressure.
And he doesn't have that pressure.
Of course you're going to chill a bit more.
Even like subconsciously.
Yeah, I think subconsciously, the mentality.
That's like if you worked for it's the same thing. If you worked for your dad and he owned the company,
you're not going to get fired.
you're like, man, I ain't getting sacked.
You come to work late, don't you?
Like
9:02,
you live in the
9:03.
same house, and you still turn up to work late before your dad. Then
But nothing happens.
But yeah, it's
and you'll get promoted.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? With all of that, I think I wonder, does Lance even want to be a Formula One driver? Like nobody's really asked that kind of question. You know how you could have a child and you want them to be what
Footballer.
you, You want him to be what you would have loved to have been as a kid, blah, blah. And it almost, I just get this impression. It's just me reading like body language. It's not nothing based on fact, but I always feel like he just doesn't want to be here.
Not that passionate, is he?
He doesn't want to be here.
Yeah.
So, but listen, to be a Formula One driver at the end of the day, you're one of the best in the world. And Lance doesn't finish last every single week. So he's clearly got something about him. So he's still top 20 driver in the world. Do you know what I mean? So there is something there. And that's what frustrates me, is that he's got the talent, he's got the resources, and it's just that hunger, that drive.
He's got it in him to be a great driver and like run with some of the top drivers in the world. But I think when you look at other drivers who never made it to F1 and the amount of talent out there, it becomes increasingly difficult to justify. And look, performances like this will shut us up. Like at the end of the day, if he keeps putting in performance like this, like we can't, say anything, because you do the talking on the track. And I think with Lance, like, this is obviously, he's a son of a billionaire, right? So he's come from an incredibly privileged background, but also like he's going to have this chip on his shoulder that like, and it doesn't matter like when he was going through karting, when he was going from junior formula, it was always, you're only here because you're a billionaire son. And like, he's going to feel like there's that chip on his shoulder to prove himself. And I think, again, he's been in the sport, like was he 17 or 18 when he jumped in 2017?
I don't know. I think he
just turned 18.
But
so he was like a baby when he first jumped in. No, he was a kid.